Thank you very much, Senator. It is exactly, 5 seconds away from 30 minutes past the hour. Our Lieutenant Governor, just like a precision, beautiful Rolex watch in terms of always being on time. We have the pleasure to welcome back to Hurley in the Morning for the first time since she is officially a declared candidate for governor of New Jersey, our Lieutenant Governor, the first in our history, the Secretary of State, former prosecutor, and now a declared candidate as of about 8 days ago for governor of New Jersey. And my good friend, Governor Kim Guadagno, joins us now. Governor, welcome back to Hurley in the Morning. How are you?
Thank you very much, Harry. I want you to know that this is the first official radio show I have done as a candidate for governor.
What an honor. Thank you. Thank you so much.
There you go.
I appreciate it.
We held off.
Thank you.
I know we tried to get on last week, couldn't get it done last week because it was just a little busy. But this week, here we are.
Thank you,
I
Governor.
wouldn't want to start anyplace else.
Thank you so much for that. So, Lieutenant Governor, you announced your candidacy for governor a little over a week ago at Keansburg in Monmouth County. What are your thoughts about the first 8 or so days as a candidate for governor?
Well, Harry, it's actually been fabulous. I want to tell you the outreach from people from all over the state has been very uplifting. I think people agree with me and our campaign, and that is that we're doing okay in New Jersey, but we can do a lot better. And I want to say this: we have lowered the unemployment rate in New Jersey since we've been in office from 9.8 to 4.7. That sounds really good, unless you don't have a job. So, and I know down in your listening area, a lot of people are out of a job. So what I want to do as governor is focus on those places where people are qualified to work, they're looking for work, and they want work. People in New Jersey can still get good quality, good paying jobs and can still stay here. So we kicked off our campaign in Keansburg for kind of an interesting reason. We wanted people to understand that this campaign is all going to be about them. In Keansburg, if you've ever been there up here in Monmouth County where I live, Keansburg is a hard-working blue-collar town. It got hit by Sandy, not quite as hard as its two neighbors, but we wanted to be able to send a loud message that we wanted to work with people in New Jersey who wanted to work with us.
Did you pretty much sort of always know that you were going to run for governor, or did this just evolve over time? How did this? How did you handle the process of whether you would do this or not?
That's a fun question. People say, "Did you want to run for lieutenant governor?" And I said, "Wait a minute. When I grew up, now you have to remember, I moved around 12 times before I was 20 years old." And my father, either lost his job or moved to get a better job with his 5 children every year or every 2 years throughout my life. So the idea of growing up and being the lieutenant governor of New Jersey was never on my mind. And certainly when I took the job as lieutenant governor, my concern was doing what the governor asked me to do, which was to cut through red tape, make companies feel like we wanted them here again, and then fight to keep those jobs here or grow those jobs here. And I think I did that job, and I'll be running on that record.
You're going to be delivering a speech tomorrow at the College of New Jersey. I'm not asking for spoilers, but can you give us a little preview?
I don't think it's going to be much of a spoiler. I think that anybody who has looked at the numbers when it comes to the success of charter schools, even choice schools, even vouchers, know that especially in the underserved districts where the schools are objectively failing, in other words, I can prove that they're failing our children, that we should come up with other solutions. And in those failing school districts, the charter schools, by the numbers, objectively evidence-based numbers, not me saying something about charter schools because I'm a Republican or my opponents saying that they don't like charter schools because they're in the pocket of the special interest groups. If you just look at the numbers, the charter schools are a successful model for helping children in underserved areas. And I'm the mother of 3. I have one child who did the ultimate public school. He went to a charter school, if you will, a public charter school in Monmouth County, Marine Academy of Science and Technology. And from there, he went to the ultimate public college, the United States Air Force Academy. And then I had another child who thought maybe a private school would be better for his high school. And that's where he went. And now I have another child who's going from public school to private school, back to public school. I mean, no one size fits all. And if we find a model that helps one child in this state, then don't we as parents have an obligation to promote that model, no matter what the invested special interests think?
I'm all for it.
And so
that'll make them, and by the way, Governor, that'll make them better, because a little bit of competition is a good thing. Right now, you can fail, and there's no competition. The parent has nowhere, the student has nowhere else to go. It's not right. Well, and I don't know how many people are listening that actually have kids in charter schools, but I do know this. If you have children, every year they go to school in September, every year they get their schedule in advance, whether it's K through 12 or whether it's K through 8 or high school. And the first question I ask my kid is, which teacher did you get? Because you know there are good teachers and bad teachers. And you know if they have a bad teacher for that child, you know, it could be a good teacher for some other child, but for my children, if you get the male science teacher, I'm done. We're good. The whole year is going to be great. We shouldn't be deciding what happens to our children based on what school district they're in or what teachers they get. They should just be given the opportunity to be the best they are, no matter where they are. And I don't understand those special interest groups that don't buy into that. They have to have kids, or they certainly have taught kids. And there's still going to be teachers. It's not like anybody's talking about getting rid of any teachers. Who wants to get rid of teachers? And they're held to the standards. They're held to the standards you have to, achieve. The state guidelines are strictly enforced. They're a public school. I mean, it's just a way to get an education in another manner that presently now is not available. And I go back to my earlier point, Governor. I really believe it puts the pressure on public education to be better, to do better by our students, because losing those dollars, per pupil, the amount of dollars, depending on the district, it can be, as you know, tens of thousands of dollars per pupil. Maybe they get a little bit better when they have a little competition breathing down their neck. I like it. I think the idea, its time has come, and I think that you leading it, we could do great things with that in New Jersey.
Thank you, Harry. I think it's the only way out. Nothing else seems to be working. Throwing money at it isn't working.
No.
It just isn't. And you know what? We need to, speaking of throwing money at things, we need to go back and look at that school funding formula. I've been to thousands of businesses in the state of New Jersey, and every single one of those businesses look at their business plan on a regular basis. It could be a 1-year plan, a 2-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, but they all review their plans. Do you know we have not reviewed the school funding plan? That is the way it exists today, according to the Supreme Court. We haven't reviewed it in 30 years.
It's ridiculous. And look how much things have changed. It's ridiculous.
Well, can't we declare victory somewhere? I mean, can't we go to Jersey City and say, okay, you have had X number of dollars, your children are succeeding in this number of ways. It's time for us to move someplace else and help some other children. I don't understand a system that wouldn't at least accept that premise. And that is, we have an obligation to review the successful districts. And if they are successful, let's take that money and go someplace else where they need the money.
I think it's a great platform. I really do. And it should be popular with everyone, because you have children or you have grandchildren, or you care about people in your community and you want them to get the best education for the dollar. And this, to me, shouldn't be seen as the threat that it is. But we know that it is, because it's like a lobby for dollars. And then I've never told you this before, but I served 2 terms as a Board of Education member in my hometown. I loved serving, and we drove such an incredible result to the bottom line. We were one of the lowest funded districts, performing higher. And I've noticed that the more we spend, the poorer the results typically are in New Jersey. It's all backwards. It's all wrong. And the districts that spend the least are performing better. And I don't mean just on standardized testing. I mean in general. So I'm excited about this year to be talking more with you about that item. We're visiting with New Jersey Lieutenant Governor Kim Guadagno, officially a candidate for governor of New Jersey, honored to say, in her first radio interview anywhere since declaring her candidacy last week. I've called you a trailblazer, not just to be polite and happy and complimentary, but I mean it when I say it. I've called you a trailblazer because your position never existed. So there was no manual that said, these are your duties and you're the lieutenant governor now. And this is what you're going to do. So you had to figure it all out. You've done a great job. And you took on immediately the role as our 33rd Secretary of State. So I'm going to ask you now to give yourself a self-evaluation of your little more than 7 years as lieutenant governor and our Secretary of State in New Jersey, which, of course, is almost like your report card self-assessment in terms of your candidacy to be the governor.
Well, that is a very fair question and one I'm proud to talk about, because and again, I go back to the numbers. If you just look at the numbers, they speak for themselves. In 2009, when we were elected, 117,000 private sector jobs left New Jersey. The governor asked me to be in charge of keeping those jobs here, creating those jobs here, cutting through the red tape so companies can stay here and grow here. And oh, by the way, feel welcome to be here. And that's what I've done. And the numbers speak for themselves. 281,000 plus new jobs in New Jersey over the last 7 years. Unemployment down 50%. Highest growth rate in 2015 than we've seen in a decade. In 2016, if you had any doubt about whether I was moving the needle in the right direction, in 2016, we created in New Jersey 100,000 new business filings. Now, what does that mean? That means 100,000 businesses want to open their doors and begin their lives in New Jersey. So for all of those people, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are still looking for work, and we're working very hard on a lot of different ways to make sure you get that work. But for those people who think we're moving in the wrong direction, don't believe me, although I wish you would. Look at the numbers. They speak for themselves. I used to, as a prosecutor, do a lot of white-collar cases, and we would just follow the money. You can't cross-examine a piece of paper. Well, you can't cross-examine the numbers. They speak for themselves. 100,000 new businesses want to start their lives in New Jersey as of last year. That's a historic record. To me, that says it all. The better days for New Jersey are ahead. We can do better. And there's a lot, let me tell you, taxes are still too high. The 2% cap was working, but people have found a way around it. I'm sure that won't shock anybody. Foreclosures are still too high, the highest in the country. We can work on that. And too many of our children in New Jersey are going to bed hungry at night. We need to stop that, which is why I'm running for governor.
We are going to come right back in just a couple of minutes. Also, and I want to let the governor know, this announcement that's going to take place at 8:05. We have a decision 2017, Hurley in the Morning breaking news announcement at 8:05, right after Governor Guadagno leaves us. A candidate will officially declare their candidacy live on the air, but it is not Joe Piscopo, Governor. It's not anybody running for governor. It's a different race, but it's an important race here in District 2. We're going to be right back with New Jersey Lieutenant Governor Kim Guadagno. And you can find out more. Kim's slogan, Governor Guadagno's slogan, Kim Guadagno for governor for a better New Jersey. The governor's website is kim4nj.com. And I know one of the items that's very, very important to the governor is to lower spending in our state, to lower taxes in our state, because we have everything from wealth flight to people that can't retire here. They retire and then they have to go move to South Carolina or Georgia or Florida. It's a tragedy. People that then are separated from their kids and their grandkids because they literally can't afford to stay in our state. If that's not one of the most important things that Kim Guadagno could do as our next governor, I don't know what is. Keeping families together and keeping people who want to stay in our great state to be able to do so. We're going to talk about that next. It's Hurley in the Morning.
Hey, wake up with Harry Hurley and drive home with me, Sean Hannity, 3 to 6. It's all happening here on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Oh, the governor doesn't know this is about to happen, but I've just been given permission to make a major breaking news announcement. And the governor does know this. I love breaking news on Hurley in the Morning. One of the most important endorsements that Governor Kim Guadagno will receive in her candidacy to be the next governor of the state of New Jersey, it's not from me. It's from my lovely bride who stays out of all of this stuff. 26 years on air. Margie never gets tangled up in any of these political things. She's just so terrific. My bride of almost 36 years this upcoming October 17th. And Margie told me the other day that she is so all in, quote, all in for Governor Kim Guadagno that she just couldn't say it more emphatically. And Margie just asked me to let you know over the air publicly, not privately, that you have my wife's endorsement. That's huge, Governor.
Thank you, Margie. Well, anybody who's married to a radio talk show host gets an A+ in my bag anyway, because you end up having things disclosed about your personal life that you never expected. But Margie, you and I are going to get together, and maybe you and I will start a radio show, Coffee with Kim or something like that, and you and I will go back and forth on women issues, which could be a topic could fill the whole morning, I would guess. Thanks, Margie. I appreciate it.
I love this. Now, Governor, you want to limit state spending. You want to lower taxes. It sounds great. Can you do it? Everybody said it. Everybody has said it year after year. It's a platitude that you hear politicians say. And there's a couple of responses to that. First of all, we have actually lowered business taxes. So let's start with the easy one, okay? $2.3 billion worth of business taxes were lowered over the last 6 years. And they were lowered because we needed to attract businesses to New Jersey. We needed to be maybe a half a point cheaper than everybody else. So companies would stay here. They would stop being aggressively attracted by other states. And I would have something to work with in terms of bringing businesses here. So we've already lowered business taxes. And we've already capped the property tax. But as I said, and God bless the ingenuity of the Jersey people, because they've gotten around the 2% cap. We have to close those gaps so the rate of property tax rising stops. We stop rate going up over the 2% cap. But over the next couple of weeks, this is a teaser, Harry, over the next couple of weeks, what you're going to hear is a concrete plan from us over how we believe we can lower property taxes. And the 30,000 foot view, of course, has to be the school funding formula. Everybody agrees on that finally, thank God. But also, it has to be accountability in Trenton for where the money goes in the first place. So one of the reasons why I fought the ballot question wasn't because we thought we didn't need to fix infrastructure. Everybody knows we need to fix infrastructure. We need to fix our crumbling roads and our bridges. But the way they have it set up is we're not necessarily going to fix the crumbling roads and the bridges first. Yeah. We're going to go build $1 billion rail line in North Jersey first. Now, does that make any sense to you? No. So let's make sure when we spend your money, we spend it in a way that we can demonstrate to you and your listeners that the money is going where it's supposed to be going in the least expensive way possible. You're going to hear much more about that. And it's going to be like audit Trenton, everything you do. I audited my own, I run the department, as you said, the Department of State, because, we didn't want to create a new bureaucracy for Lieutenant Governor when this office was created. So we put the two offices together. So, Margie, you'll love this if you're listening. As a woman, I do 2 jobs. Or if the governor is out of state, I do 3 jobs. I get 1 salary. And for your listeners, Harry, I don't get any pension. I have no pension. Nobody believes this. 30 years as a lawyer, 15 years as a federal and a state prosecutor, 8 years as teaching Rutgers Law School. I was a commissioner in my town. I was a sheriff in my county and the lieutenant governor for 7 years. And I do not have a state pension. I mean, people need to know that there's somebody in Trenton who's simply here to make sure all of our taxes go down, period. Lieutenant Governor
That's
Kim
my
Guadagno, that's good stuff. Let me throw $300 million at you then, since we're talking about chump change. You know where I'm going. There's a 4-year plan, and I understand. I mean, if stuff's falling down, if it's unsafe, I mean, I'm not trying to be unreasonable, but a $300 million 4-year plan to renovate the state offices. What's your position about this?
Well, I was very clear when I did the kickoff, and that is that we can't afford to do it. When we have the highest foreclosure rate in the country, when children are still going to bed hungry in New Jersey, which is just, to me, outrageous, we cannot afford to borrow $300 million to build what I called at the time the Palace of Versailles. Everybody wants to honor our history. I go there every day. My office is beautiful. Could it be more beautiful? Of course it could be more beautiful. Could I get rid of some of the lighting they stuck in there? Sure I could. But if we can find another way to fund it, we should. So one example, let's set up 501c3s, do a capital campaign, raise the money to fix what has to be fixed, and don't waste money on the rest of it while we have foreclosure problems, while we have high taxes, while we have children going to bed hungry at night, while we have other priorities. I just thought that was a little tone deaf. One
other item, financial item, and I really like him personally, so you know what I'm about to say is criticism. Say you say something nice, then I'll say what I really want to say. But I do like him. I think our Speaker, Prieto, is a good man. I think he's a good guy. But he comes up with these – it seems like his first sort of reaction to everything is a new tax, a new fee, a new onerous something to just stick it, to ratepayers or taxpayers or businesses. This $2 per room additional tax. They're already paying 17%, $2 more on every Atlantic City room. I think this is absolutely terrible. What are your thoughts?
Well, a couple of things. First, I read it yesterday for the first time.
Yeah.
Second, I'm glad that the Speaker is thinking of out of the box. So what he's trying to do is save firemen and policemen. And in Atlantic City, one of the first things people think about is safety. And we need to make sure that people are safe. We need to make sure they're secure. We need to make sure they have the fundamental services that people expect in Atlantic City, especially as I'm absolutely convinced that city grows, and it will. It's going to pop. You guys, everybody that thinks that Atlantic City is dead has not been speaking to the businesses that I have been speaking to in the last couple of years. People want Atlantic City finances to be cleared up so that they can come in and start building and expanding the rateable base so it's not wholly casino. So back to Speaker Prieto's suggestion, let's look at it. I'm not going to reject it out of hand. I think, and the reason is this, because the taxpayers of New Jersey don't pay that $2. Other people pay that $2. People that come to gamble in Atlantic City and spend the night pay that $2.
Right.
So, it's a fee that's put off on somebody other than the taxpayers of New Jersey. So I appreciate the Speaker's thinking out of the box. I appreciate the need to make sure that our first responders stay on the job and keep Atlantic City safe, because otherwise I can't grow businesses there, so we expand the rateable base, so we fix some of the financial problems that Atlantic City sees right now.
I was just going to say, one thing I know about you always do your homework, and I realize this is just hours old. I just wanted to get in there because it's been coming up a lot this morning, and a lot of people are thinking about it. And as you begin to decide on your position, please look at the result of the last time that a hotel room tax was put on. It devastated. I have a very dear friend who owns a hotel in Cape May. I have clients who own hotels. It devastated the occupancy. So just because the guest is paying it, they started staying other places. And I know it only sounds, it's only $2, but it was devastating what the last tax did. And I would just ask you, I know you will, I would ask you to take a look at that. This sort of feathers in, though, to while we're talking about Atlantic City, the takeover of Atlantic City by the state. Very unpopular. Even the decision to say, hey, you guys are terrible, so we got to take you over, but we're going to hire your business administrator to be our guy, almost looks, it looks insane. Now, Jeff Chiesa is my friend. I love the guy. Great guy. He's been a gentleman down here. And I told everybody that didn't know him, and I did, that you just hit the lottery in terms of if you're going to have a state takeover that you don't want, you hit the lottery in terms of the new CEO. But nobody wants this state takeover. The state has a terrible record of running the state for our whole lifetime. So I don't look at them as supermen and superwomen. If you're the governor, are you calling this takeover off, or are you going through with it? What can you say about that?
Let me say a couple of things. First, I think Don Guardian is a fabulous mayor. I think Don Guardian has done everything that he has promised to do and presented everything that he needed to present to the Department of Community Affairs to avoid a takeover. That's the first thing. The second thing is I think Chris Brown has been a huge advocate for avoiding this takeover. We are now stuck with this takeover. I agree with you with Jeff Chiesa. Senator Chiesa has been a friend of mine since I first met him in 2009. And if you had to have someone managing it, there is nobody with a more calm demeanor and smarter than Jeff. My concern about that takeover, as I've said to many people, is how many times are we going to examine this thing? And how many lawyers are we going to hire to say the same thing and do the same thing and come up with the same result? I mean, everybody knows we're not going to let we're not going to let the city go into bankruptcy. It's a slippery slope. It's just a dumb idea. So let's just fix it and get it done. Now, when you're right, when they hire the same DA that they had before, that really does call into question, if not show you that the takeover was unnecessary. Hey, look, it doesn't make any sense. You go. What do we have? 4 different sets of people who have come in and examined how to fix Atlantic City,
and a lot of money has been spent, and there are a lot of actual papers, working papers that have been written on what needs to be done, and we are sort of in the what do they call it? Analysis by paralysis phase.
Well, do you think the lawyers all came up with different answers? I don't think so. I think everybody understands what has to be done.